Welcome back to another video. So today I'm sharing all of the desserts that I brought to Thanksgiving dinner at family's house. So I figured I would go ahead and share all of these with you. So this first recipe is pumpkin better than anything cake. So it's super easy. You'll just take a can of pumpkin and a box of yellow cake mix. You're going to want to mix that together, and then you will bake it at 350 for about 23 to 28 minutes. I baked mine for 25 and it came out perfect. This cake batter is going to be a little bit thick, but it's supposed to be. If you feel like it is too thick, just add a splash of milk to make it easier to work with. While the cake is in the oven, I'm going to go ahead and get started on my cranberry dip. So I made cranberry sauce for Thanksgiving when I hosted at my house, and I had quite a bit left over, so I just searched on Pinterest how to use up cranberry sauce, and this recipe came up. I kind of modified it to what I needed, but basically it is just a block of cream cheese, half a cup of powdered sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. You're going to mix that all together until there are no lumps. I usually put my cream cheese in the microwave for about 30 seconds to soften it up, and then you're just going to put that in the bottom of a pie pan or whatever pan that you want to serve it in. And then the cranberry sauce is super easy. I made it in my Thanksgiving Cook With Me, so if you missed that, make sure and go watch that. But this recipe, the homemade cranberry sauce is best. I don't think you would be able to use the jellied. You can always try, but I personally would not recommend it. But you're just going to use about a cup of cranberry sauce on top of this and spread it around until it is to your liking. I serve this with vanilla wafers, but I think that graham crackers or pretzels would be good as well. Now that the cake is done, you're going to go ahead and use a fork or a wooden spoon, whatever you have, to poke holes in the cake. And then you're going to dump 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. I did heat mine up on the stove to make it easier to work with, so if that is an option for you, go ahead and do that. And then you're going to top it with some whipped topping. And then I used the Heath bits. You can get them at any grocery store, and I just topped it with a little bit of those. This was super delicious. It is a very, very dense cake. It's more like a custard texture, I would say, but everyone loved it, and it was super easy and super delicious. I also had some of this caramel sauce that I used for another recipe, and I thought that it would give it good flavor too. So if you have it, go ahead and use it. I was also making an apple crisp cheesecake. I also found this recipe on Pinterest, and I kind of just modified it to my liking. So In the same pan that I have my sweetened condensed milk, I'm just melting down 2 tablespoons of butter. You're going to want to add about 2 cups of apples. I did not peel mine. I just didn't want to go through the fuss of doing that. So I still have peels on mine and it turned out just fine. And then you're going to add a cup of brown sugar, and basically you're just going to want to cook these down. These did take a good 20 minutes, but that's kind of just the nature of apples. They take a little bit. So I wanted to go ahead and get this on the stove while I was doing other things. For the cheesecake filling for the apple crisp cheesecake, I just used the same method as I did with the cranberry dip. It is just 1 block of cream cheese, half a cup of powdered sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. My pie pans were a little bit too short, so I did have to remove a little bit. So that left me with quite a bit of the cream cheese mixture left. So I will show you what I'm doing with that whenever I'm done with this step. In my Thanksgiving cook with me, I had a little bit of the pumpkin pie filling left over that did not fit in my mini pies. So I just put it in a glass dish and I baked it with the pies as well. So I just mixed this with the leftover cheesecake filling, and this was delicious. This was just a pumpkin cheesecake dip, and I served it with vanilla wafers as well. Now that my apples are done, I am just using a slotted spoon to spoon those over the top of the cheesecake. You don't want any of that juice in your cheesecake. I also had that caramel sauce specifically for this recipe, so I went ahead and drizzled that over the top just a little bit. You don't want it too sweet. And then I'm going to go ahead and work on the streusel topping. So this is just a basic streusel topping. So it is 3/4 cup of flour, 1/3 cup of brown sugar, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and half a stick of butter melted. You're just going to mix that together. I just used a metal whisk to incorporate it. Now I'm just going to top my apple cheesecake with this streusel mixture. I had quite a bit left, so I decided to use it on my pumpkin cheesecake dip as well. And I just baked this in the oven at 350 for 15 minutes, and it came out perfect. Now we're going to get started on one of my favorite recipes. So it is Pretzel Toffee. So you're going to take 2 sticks of butter and a cup of brown sugar and melt that down. Once it is boiling, you boil it for 4 minutes. You have to stir it constantly while it's boiling. And then you're going to want to line a parchment lined cookie sheet with pretzels, and just make sure that they're all in one layer. Because if they're not in one layer, it doesn't work correctly. So that's just kind of a tip for me. And then you're just going to top that. Don't worry about spreading it too much because it will spread more in the oven, but I do like to try just a little bit to thin it out just a little bit. And then you're going to bake it in the oven for 4 minutes at 400. When it comes out, top it with milk chocolate chips. I used the whole bag. You definitely want to use the whole bag. And then I just popped it back in the oven while it was off for a minute or so just to let the chocolate chips melt down. You're just going to spread them the best you can. And then I let this sit in the fridge overnight just to let it firm up. I also decided to top it with the rest of these Heath bits that I did not use on my pumpkin dump cake. It is the next day. I tried to cut these with my knife, but it was just not working. So the best thing to do is just get in there with your hands. It is going to get messy, but just wash your hands and just get in there. I did break these up into smaller pieces because these are very, very rich. I've seen a lot of people use crackers or graham crackers, and while both of those are delicious, I think the graham crackers are better than the actual crackers. But pretzels covered in chocolate is literally one of my favorite things, and this recipe is definitely my favorite out of all of those. This last thing we're making is called Holiday Crack. It is something that I take to basically every get-together that we have anywhere. It's getting harder and harder to find the Chesters Butter Puffcorn. I actually had to go to 2 different stores to find it, but I did find it and I was excited. So I'm just using some parchment paper. This is the easiest way to not get so messy because it is kind of a messy project. So I'm just using parchment paper and some painter's tape to tape the parchment paper to my counter so it doesn't move.
Gonna go inside and drink our chocolate by the fire. 'Cause all I want is to spend this day with you. Let me give you a Christmas.
While this recipe is super easy and it only has 2 ingredients, prep work is everything. So you want to make sure that you have your puffcorn all open and laid out on your counter so it is ready for when you melt your chocolate.
As long as I spend this day with you, so beautiful, kissing on a mistletoe, baby, with you. Ooh.
So for this recipe, the ratio is 2 bags of the Chesters Butter Puffcorn to 1 block of white almond bark. You're just going to want to melt your almond bark in 30-second intervals until it is completely melted. I think I did this 4 or 5 times, but you just want to make sure that you don't burn your chocolate. So next, I used a piping bag. I just got this kit from Amazon. If I can remember to link it, I will down below. But if you don't have something like this, you can just use Ziploc bags.
Go inside and drink our chocolate by the fire. 'Cause all I want is to spend this day with you. Let me give you a Christmas, a moment we'll fill with love and joy. So beautiful, kissing on a mistletoe, baby, with you. I don't need any presents, as long as I spend this day with you. So beautiful, kissing on a mistletoe, baby, with you. Ooh.
Now that the chocolate is melted, you're just going to pipe it all over the puffcorn and then get in there with your hands and make sure that everything is coated. Super easy. If you have sprinkles, you can top it with sprinkles. I just didn't have any Thanksgiving themed sprinkles, so I just left it plain. So that is going to be it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please subscribe. Other than that, I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.
As long as I spend this day with